Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday. It is March 23rd. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and this is going to wrap our week up. No chart lessons on Friday, so no chart lesson tomorrow. It'll be Monday before we'll be back, but I'm a little late getting this done. I apologize, and I'm going to try to move on through it, and we'll try to get it done and wrap up the week. So let's back out a little bit, talk about the trades, and then we'll wrap the day up. Um, First trade I saw was around 7:30 this morning. Uh, the entry's really right there. I got the bar in the wrong place. Um, Notice we're working down first entry, second entry, and it fails. It looks like we're going to go higher, and then it traps people, and we get kind of a neutral bar there, slightly bullish to neutral, and then we get this huge bearish bar. So this, when it breaks below this bar, that's your signal. I wouldn't like it with just this one bar here, but when you made this bigger bar here, I did like it. So you can put your stop there, your stop entry, sell stop right there, and make sure you put your safety stop above this bar right here. If you could get it above here and still be in the 2 point rule, I'd put it up here because that's really your high of this swing here. But you get that little trap, and that confirms that trend line, and then we actually confirm it a couple more times before it heads lower. You might have even considered when it broke below here, these two double bar matching, when it broke below there, you might have even considered dropping a limit order back in here again if you missed it the first time. And so you could really say, hey, you can enter here as well. Again, your stop would need to be over here though, so you might double up on that one. We are still above the EMA, but you can see that trend line working down there. But by now you got evidence that trend line's working down, and it just trickles on off and takes off. You actually get a second entry here, but you're a little too far away from the EMA, and we just came off the low. You can see it fits there, and so I don't think you want to enter there. Would have worked, but you'll hear me say that a lot. Just because it worked, that's why it's so hard for people to learn to trade, because they'll see these trades and they work, and then the next time they try them they don't. But if you know the rules and you know that you can only enter under certain situations, then yeah, you might see a move like this occasionally go without you, but you don't let it rattle you because you knew it wasn't a good setup, so you didn't take it. I hope that makes sense. So there's some reasons to argue for this one. First, it's bouncing off the lower trend line. We actually got a little overshoot, but there's also a little double bottom. Oops, across here, which you can see. Probably would have it right there. And it's a little failed break lower. We're a good ways away from the EMA. You could almost make this one blue, but generally you want to wait on that higher low, but we don't get that till it's way too late here. And then we finally get a break of the trend line. A lot of times when you get a overshoot, sometimes you won't get a retest attempt, but we did get a retest attempt here, and notice it found resistance, or I'm sorry, it was finding resistance right here trying to go higher, but it found support here. And we made a low right here, then we tested it once, we tested it twice, and it bounced off that line. Really, you don't want to get long or short in there. It's just too tight. You can see the highs, the lows, and we're just going sideways. You can see those bars are just stacking up there. So that's not a good place. What you want to do is wait on a failure here, and you get it right here. Notice you bounce out of here, and you make a double test up here of this high, and you got a failed breakout as well. So I like that one to go short. It takes a little while to work on down, but I say a little while, it takes it a few bars. When it starts going sideways like this, sometimes that's a clue to exit. If you didn't get your 4 ticks by the time this bar closed, I probably would have taken what it'd give me and exited there. But hopefully you hung on long enough to get out of that one. if you took it. And then notice we come back to the trend line, we close inside it. Even though we ticked it a little lower there, nothing closed outside that trend line. And that's a nice bullish reversal. And it's this is a little congestion area. That's a little failed break higher. And it's right off that trend line. So I like going long there. You don't know that it's going to break out and go like this, but you're hoping you're going to get a scalp just riding it back to the high. And you see it's where it found resistance there before it pushed through. There's a little bit of a pullback right there, but your failed second entry is really way up here. And, you know, it's so far away from the EMA. It is off the trend line, which is, you know, this shorter term trend line. So that's a key entry point. And but you got to go long at the high of the day. Basically, it's a little breakout pullback from the high, overnight high as well. So you're going long at the high of the day. You're a little bit away from the EMA. It's actually going sideways a little bit there too. So even though it's a failed second entry short, it's off the trend line. I think it's too risky. And then notice you finally get a break here and you get a little trap. But notice this bar can't break higher. This bar can't break higher. So now you got a 4-bar matching high. Again, we're not back to the EMA. We just came off the high. You might consider it. There's some reasons to consider it, but I think you're better off skipping that. And notice we get an overshoot, and we just kind of work our way back over. We keep trying to go higher, but just too much selling going on at that price level. But notice that high, we tested it once, and then we got another test of it. You actually got a second entry long right there, and it fails on a double test of this high, and that's a great, look how bearish that bar is. That's a great place to go short. Your stop has to go above the swing high, which is this bar. There's a 1 tick difference there. But I like going short there, and boom, off we go. We push through, you get a first entry, pull back, you get a second entry. So that's a failed second entry long, another big bearish bar right off the trend line. I like going short there. I really thought we'd come back to the other side now. And you actually get another pullback there, but I don't like this one. We've still been away from the EMA a while. Wait till you get something a little closer to the EMA, and notice you actually get that here. There's another thing to consider on this one. Notice that's a little double top right there, so that's a new high, first entry, second entry, and that is fairly bearish. But we've had a pretty good move. You've had a couple of swings down. I would have measured this first. It's really hard to say where it's at. That's really the first correction. So let's just measure it from there. And you see we'd actually overshot. And you don't have a lot of room in there to that measured move. So I like this one, but I don't. You're too close to the measured move on this one right here. So let me put that back up there. I took it down a little too quick. So you just don't have enough room right there. Here you got plenty of room. Here you're running out of room, even though it worked. And plus it gapped over that right there, so it probably would have been hard to get in it. And then we try to bounce, and notice the new low, first entry, pull back, second entry. This is actually the signal bar I was looking at, this one right here. A nice bearish bar. You got a high there, you test it once, you trade down, you come back, you test it about 3 or 4 times, and then prices turn back down. So this is actually the second entry triggered below this bar. But when this one traded back up, this is too bullish to go short here. But when we finally got this one, I liked it. It's very bearish, and there's actually a little higher low there. It didn't tick higher, which would have been nice because you would have had probably more people trapped, and it probably would have really shot down. But I still like this one. It's 2 legs back to the EMA. And this is a range. Now, you do have to remember this is kind of the midpoint of the range, and that's probably why we're bouncing around in there. The midpoint's actually a little bit further down here, a few ticks. But so you got to be careful in these. We talked about that yesterday. That's where you get more failures. But this just turns out to be a tighter range here. I actually like maybe entering on this one. Notice you pull out and you make that low, and then you try to go lower again. And so you've got a entry point right off these lows here. It's just not enough touches there really to confirm that one. You could probably make it green, but that's the reason I didn't mark that one. I just don't think you getting this late in the day. I don't think you got enough evidence that that's going to hold. But when we come back and test it again here, now you do, but you don't have a lot of room here either. So you got to try to get in this one and make sure you got enough room to get out before here. Notice it pushed on through, but you don't know that it's going to do that. And it had to really fight. It didn't get far before it was going sideways again. So you would expect this to try to go to the high after pulling back, and it's like a double bottom pullback. You make a little higher or low. That's a fairly bullish bar. It's not a perfect bar, but you know, you tried to go lower twice there. So, and you did push through the EMA. It's not real strong, but so that's the reason it's green instead of blue. And then notice what happens. Again, you're just still going sideways here, and so I just think you want to skip that. There's one last, notice we're going sideways. You do get a bar here at the very low, but again, you don't have a lot, it's like down here, you don't have a lot of evidence that this is the support yet. That's just really the second time you bounced there. You'd like to see it bounce there a few times before you trust that. Like, notice how many times it's turned down right there. That gives you confidence when this fails on this breakout and you get that big bearish bar. Normally you don't see me mark many that late in the day, but you got room to get out. I like that one. And if you caught that one, you could have ridden that down late into the afternoon. And that would have been a nice move. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it for today. You had to be a little patient at times. It was pretty straightforward once we started going higher. And it got a little tricky right in here, but that's just because this is a range and this is the middle of the range. And by late this afternoon, it was pretty obvious this was the range. So you got to be careful entering around, you know, in that mid area there, because that's where you get most of your failures. Early on, this was not the middle. This was the high point, you know, and it just had dropped down a little bit. So it's a little different. But by this late in the day, oops, it's pretty obvious what's going on here. So that your range is a little bigger and you got a midpoint in here. And so just keep that in mind. But I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it Monday. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.